I think the game's changing a lot. I think the way I learned to play golf is not the way people learn today. I'm learning new things about how to play on tour, how to kind of survive on tour, keep pace with this new generation, or try to. I look forward to every year. It's one of my favorite golf courses on tour. It's one of the best events that we play in every year. The event that I tell all my friends.
Adam Scott didn't just make an announcement, he dropped a full-on shock grenade on the golf world. What he revealed is flipping the script on his entire career and shaking up the future of the sport. Behind the scenes, insiders are whispering like it's some secret, high-level meeting. Fans are spiraling across social media, trying to decode what's coming next. And now the entire tour is scrambling, unsure of what Scott is really about to pull off.
The kind of course where you need a lot of things to go right to be in the mix. The penalty is extreme. I mean, I think that's a trait of Pete Dye golf courses. There's water everywhere. It's hard to recover from the water, and a couple of visits to the water during the week makes it hard playing catch up, because then you have to force it and then you have to risk, and it's there, but if you're not on it, it's hard to always post a good number here. Hard to get it in the clubhouse the last.
Today, I'm breaking down the whole situation, and what's really hiding behind this career-level explosion. Adam Scott walked into 2025 with a strange energy around him, like someone standing on the edge of a major move, ready to jump into something huge. It wasn't decline, and it wasn't retirement. It was a straight-up pivot, and the golf world had no clue how to read it.at44. He moved through tournaments with a calm that didn't feel peaceful at all. It felt like the calm of someone quietly practicing a secret plan he wasn't ready to reveal. Fans caught on quickly, noticing every subtle shift, the tighter schedule, the sharper focus, and the way he talked about balance, the same way other players talk about birdies. His travel got lighter, his family time got louder, and his committee work with the tour grew heavier and far more intentional. Something real was shifting, and nobody could piece it together. They just felt that he was building something big, something definitely on the way. Insiders whispered that he didn't look like a veteran cruising toward the sunset. He looked like a strategist tightening the last bolts on a long-game blueprint. He wasn't backing away from competition at all, he was recalibrating it. Equipment reps started talking about low-key prototype tests he refused to let anyone film. Committee members hinted about him stepping into fiery governance debates with an entirely new edge. Even his swing shifted, quieter, cleaner, almost surgical. He walked around with the energy of a man preparing for a brand new arena, not an exit. The entire golf world felt the rumble before the quake. And then the hints started getting sharper. He started popping up in meetings that older players usually avoid and skipping events they usually cling to, and that alone had everyone whispering. He spoke about sustainability, legacy, and time management with this smooth, careful tone, like he was slipping a secret message between the lines. Commentators tried to frame it as simple late-career smart planning, but the vibe around him was way too strong for that. This wasn't a fade. This was a build. After months of speculation, coded interviews, and late-night rumor storms flying everywhere, the truth finally cracked open. Scott wasn't slowing down, he was rerouting. He was lining himself up with the rising TGL era, not as a ceremonial veteran, but as a foundational piece stepping directly into the league's 2026 launch. Insiders started describing his new role with one word: transformational. This move wasn't some soft slide into the background. It was a calculated jump straight into golf's tech-driven future, backed by Tiger Woods himself. Suddenly, everything made sense. The schedule tweaks, the strategic calm, the heavier role in governance, it all snapped into place. Scott wasn't drifting toward the finish, he was engineering a whole new beginning. And when the announcement hit, it didn't just land, it detonated, flipping every belief about how legacy players evolve. And it left one huge question hanging in the air: if this is his pivot point, then what exactly is he building next? Right after that revelation, the US Open turned into a full-blown epic, the kind where the main character looks settled, then gets thrown into wild, dramatic chaos. At Oakmont, Scott walked in with the calm of a seasoned warrior, but he walked out leaving the entire field buzzing. He cooked up a scorching 67 at one point, sparking whispers that he might be setting up one last big-time strike at a major. But by Sunday, reality hit hard, and that bogey on the 72nd hole landed like a cruel exclamation mark, snatching away a playoff and turning the whole week into another painful almost. In his major story, golf analysts didn't know whether to celebrate him or scream into their microphones. They talked about that old man Parv vibe with a weird mix of respect and disbelief, like his swing was aging and sharpening at the exact same time. The contrast was wild, a player old enough to be labeled a long-term veteran, yet still dropping rounds so clean and so sharp that commentators literally tripped over their own praise. It didn't feel like a man fading. It felt like someone standing dead center at a crossroads, body getting tested, but mind suddenly wide awake. That final bogey on Sunday carried real symbolism, almost haunting. It wasn't just a missed shot, it echoed every pass near miss that shaped his career with equal parts elegance and heartbreak. Was this the moment Scott stared at the scoreboard and realized he still had more chapters to write? Or was it the quiet last twist before a graceful exit? The whispers swirled instantly. Behind the scenes buzz kicked up fast. People started talking about late-night Zoom calls with his longtime confidant Brad Faxon, and sneaky prototype gear tweaks that hinted something major was brewing. A mini driver was quietly being tested, supposedly custom-built for deadly precision, not raw distance. His family even showed up mid-tournament, turning his tent into a full strategy headquarters. Scott wasn't just playing that week, he was crafting a storyline. One insider said his vibe wasn't frantic or desperate, it was controlled. Like a general sketching out his next campaign with cold confidence. Every swing, every phone call, every tiny gesture felt loaded with meaning. By the time the weekend wrapped, fans and pundits weren't asking if he'd retire. They were asking if he was reloading. And if he was reloading, what battlefield was he aiming for? Then came the shockwaves. Just weeks after that wild run at Oakmont, Scott's next move jumped off the fairways and straight into the power boardrooms of golf, and it wasn't small. He quietly stepped onto Tiger Woods' future competition committee, a name that sounds clean and corporate, but insiders swear it operates more like the Avengers of modern golf governance. Their mission, redesign the entire post-merger golf landscape, from media rights and tournament formats to player equity, travel rules, and the long-term blueprint of the sport. But here's the twist, Scott didn't show up as some silent passenger. He came in as a genuine mind in the room, someone ready to shape the future instead of watching it unfold. And according to people in that room, he didn't hold back. They say he delivered a 45-minute presentation that had the entire committee locked in. He wasn't just joining, he was becoming a key architect. His delivery was monk-calm, but the content hit with force. He laid out a global equity blueprint built straight from lived experience, years of brutal jet-lag travel, President's Cup tension, and a quiet frustration with golf's heavy US-centric power structure. This wasn't a wish list, it was a manifesto disguised as PowerPoint slides, delivered with that smooth, strategic calm he's mastered. Commissioner Jay Monahan reportedly reacted like a man who'd just been hit with a revelation. And suddenly the story flipped. Scott wasn't pitching ideas, he was leading the room, steering the entire conversation toward a future that felt more sustainable, more balanced, and genuinely global for the elite level of the game. He wasn't thinking about his next tee time anymore. He wasn't thinking about tee times anymore. He was sketching out the next decade of professional golf, like an architect with a vision. Meanwhile, the gossip mills lit up fast, spinning every detail into wild theories about where Scott's influence was headed. Some people swore he was laying the groundwork for a graceful exit, making sure that when he finally put the putter down, he'd leave an entire legacy blueprint behind. Others said the complete opposite, that he was locking in long-term influence so he'd stay at the center of the sport, even if his playing schedule lightened. Then the rumors heated up even more. Reports surfaced about a secret dinner at Woods' Florida hideaway, where Scott and Tiger were supposedly sketching future tournament calendars on napkins like two masterminds plotting a takeover. Word even spread that Scott floated the idea of neutral site majors, a concept so bold it had traditionalists furious while futurists were cheering like the future of golf was being drafted right there at the table. And then Marie Scott, always low-key but quietly powerful, slid into the chatter too. People whispered that she pitched venue concepts, travel flow layouts, and even ideas for more family-friendly setups that could reshape how major events operate. The real weight behind all of this wasn't just business. It was personal, deep, and rooted in something bigger than trophies. Scott wasn't planning a soft career sunset. He was shaping a permanent stamp on the game. He wasn't stepping aside, he was stepping up into a role most veterans never dare to take, the role of a future architect. With family woven through every silent detail behind the scenes, the Scott household moved like a perfectly tuned emotional machine, calm on the surface but powerful underneath. And by 2025, they weren't just a support system anymore, they had become the backbone of his entire storyline. Suddenly, it was obvious that every choice Scott made, his schedule, the committees he joined, the simulator league commitments, all traced back to the gravity of Marie and their 3 kids, shaping every move he made. People started noticing how Scott's presence at tournaments shifted into something softer, steadier, like he was grounded by the quiet strength of his family, even when they weren't physically there. Their life, split between Switzerland's crystal-clear winters and the Bahamas. Sunlit calm, looked perfect from the outside. But beneath that picture-perfect frame was a fully organized chaos, multilingual schooling, tight schedules, and constant coordination across different time zones. You'd hear cello practice echoing through mountain chalets, see casual golf drills taking over the patios, and watch nightly FaceTime check-ins shaped around everyone's routines. Bo trained with real dedication. Byron played cello pieces that sounded like cathedral music. And little Bjorn recreated golf moments using a broomstick wrapped to look like his dad's famous putter, a simple, wholesome tribute to the game that shaped their lives. The family wasn't just a household. They moved like a constellation, bright, scattered across continents, yet always connected. For Scott, the stakes weren't theoretical. Every missed tournament and every long stretch on the road meant breaking what insiders quietly called the 3-week rule, a family pact shaped by years of fertility struggles and long, jet-lagged separations. Breaking that boundary reportedly rattled him, stirring quiet tension over missed milestones and cello recitals he had to watch through glitchy video calls. This family had fought through too much to let distance crack the foundation they built, but here's what became clear as the world kept trying to decode Scott's shifting career path. This wasn't him retreating into some soft domestic bubble. It was something bigger. A man trying to balance elite ambition with the people who gave that ambition meaning. This wasn't a retreat, it was an evolution toward sustainability. A whole new way of staying in the grind without letting home become the sacrifice. His committee work, his gear experiments, his TGL commitments, everything pointed toward a life where home wasn't the price he paid, but the anchor keeping him steady. And when fans saw that viral clip of the tear-streaked family huddle after a near miss, the entire storyline shifted in real time. Adam Scott wasn't just steering a career. He was shaping a legacy that flowed through the people who shaped him. Every move he made carried the quiet pull of family gravity. Then came the reckoning. The Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black unfolded like pure cinematic warfare, cold air slicing through the course, roaring crowds shaking the rough, and pressure gripping the fairways like a fog that refused to lift. Adam Scott walked into Europe's locker room not to be the headliner or the emotional firestarter. He came as the steady veteran, the storm calmer. But by the end of the week, he transformed into something much bigger, a catalyst, an anchor, and the quiet hero no one saw coming. His opening session with Shane Lowry played out like a masterclass in controlled chaos. They faced an American duo running on pure competitive adrenaline, Wyndham Clark and Xander Schauffele, and the match felt like a tug-of-war built on intensity. But then Scott started dropping moments that felt mythic. His 3 would fade around that massive oak had observers replaying the clip like it was some sacred relic, the kind of shot whispered about years later. That precision looked carved with the calm edge of an assassin using borrowed tools, but then came the heartbreak at the 17th hole, a putt that lipped out so cruelly it felt like it was mocking physics. It dragged up old memories, the familiar poetry of near misses that had followed Scott through so many of his team battles. Overnight, the doubt swirled. Should he keep grinding as a player? Or slide into a quieter leadership role? Saturday changed everything. He stepped back out in 4-ball with Matt Fitzpatrick, and the storyline flipped. Scott started dropping long putts with cold, serene confidence, powering them to a 3-2 win that felt like a full-on rebirth. And his broomstick putter, revamped with a Swedish knot grip rumored to be Marie's idea, suddenly looked like a weapon built for a comeback. By Sunday singles, he had become both meme and marvel, the calmest man on the course while carrying decades of ghosts on his back. His duel with Sepp Straka ended in a clutch 1-up win sealed by a bunker escape so smooth it felt like fate had rehearsed it with him. Insiders whispered that the night before, Scott replayed old President's Cup footage, pulling strength from younger versions of himself staring back from the screen. Europe's 15-13 triumph wasn't carried on Adam Scott's back alone, but his presence became something bigger than a scoreboard moment. It became symbolic. Proof that greatness doesn't fade, it recalibrates. Bethpage didn't bring Scott back. It revealed the version of him that had always existed between the headlines, the resilient one, the calculated one, the terrifyingly calm one when everything was on the line, and that Ryder Cup roar? That raw, electric energy pouring from fans, teammates, and even critics turned into fuel. Fuel for whatever seismic chapter Scott is about to enter next, because when the TGL upheaval hit in November, it came with finale-level chaos, and Scott dropped his twist with absolute theatrical precision. His commitment to the 2026 TGL launch wasn't framed as a casual mid-career experiment. It landed like a tectonic shift, shaking the entire landscape. What people thought was a simple schedule adjustment quickly revealed itself to be something much louder, much more intentional. Scott didn't join TGL just to compete. He joined to help build the frontier of golf's digital future. He wasn't walking into a league, he was walking into a lab where the next generation of the sport is being engineered. His Dubai interview, filmed in that swirling desert haze, showed a man talking about evolution, not adaptation. And that one word, evolution, set the speculation machine on fire. TGL promised faster broadcasts, primetime theatrics, simulator battles, and competition without the brutal airline miles of the old-school tours. For a dad juggling cello recitals, ski weekends, and a family spread across continents, this wasn't a novelty. It was liberation. And insiders who were paying attention saw only one thing: strategic brilliance. Scott found a lane where he could stay razor-sharp competitively, expand his influence, and still reclaim his time. Then came the financial whispers. Rumors started circulating that Scott had secured an equity stake in Jupiter Link's GC, turning his role from player to long-term strategist. Overnight, analysts stopped labeling him as an aging star. They started treating him like a boardroom architect steering golf into its tech-driven renaissance. And the backstory? That made everything explode. Leaks revealed that Scott's involvement actually stretched back to a confidential 2024 Zoom call with Tiger Woods, where the two reportedly broke down team structures and simulator concepts like general sketching battle plans. Scott even pitched virtual recreations of Royal Melbourne, Aussie heritage reborn through futuristic screens, blending tradition and innovation in a way nobody else had dared attempt. What started as whispers transformed into full-blown noise. Insiders claimed Scott wasn't just advising TGL. He was engineering its identity. Suddenly his fingerprints were everywhere, from team branding meetings to late-night debates about simulator physics. Reports said he championed global-friendly time slots, sustainability goals, and tech that tracked emotional momentum in real time, turning matches into live narratives instead of stiff competitions. And then came the image that hit fans like a cinematic freeze-frame: Scott touring a secret Orlando test facility with Tiger, staring at massive LED walls, and saying, "This is where the future breathes." That one sentence became legend. Analysts began calling him the quiet disruptor, the veteran walking into the future with the confidence of someone who already saw the next 20 years mapped out. He wasn't just part of the new era. He was one of the architects writing it. But with big moves comes big backlash. Traditionalists accused him of abandoning the soul of real golf. Modernists praised him as the visionary dragging the sport into the century it forgot to enter. And the louder the noise got, the quieter Scott became, which only fueled the speculation fire even more. Then the leak dropped, the one that shook the old guard to its core. Scott was allegedly pushing for a hybrid global season blending real course majors with tech-driven mid-season showcases. The idea was so bold that one executive reportedly walked out of a meeting muttering, "He's going to break the whole model." But fans, they absolutely loved it. Social feeds blew up instantly, edits, memes, fan animations, all painting Adam Scott as the mastermind architect of a brand new golf empire. Suddenly, he wasn't standing between eras anymore. He was welding them together. And just when everyone thought the storyline had reached its peak, the next twist snapped the entire golf world to attention. Reports surfaced that Scott was in active talks to co-design a TGL-exclusive hybrid course, part physical, part digital. The concept sounded unreal. Real turf. Real bunkers. Real hazards. But with shifting, projected environments that could morph in real time. One hole mimicking Augusta. The next transforming into Kingston Heath. Fans absolutely lost their minds. Was Adam Scott building the first course that could literally transform mid-round? Insiders said he pitched the idea as golf without borders, a system where weather, strategy, visuals, and difficulty moved like a living organism. It was bold. It was rebellious. It was miles outside the comfort zone of old-school executives. And suddenly, the conversation wasn't about whether Scott was evolving. It was about how far he planned to push the sport before anyone could stop him. The era of "Quiet Adam Scott" was officially over. This version had vision. This version had tech swagger. This version had a blueprint big enough to shake every corner of golf's future. And then another twist dropped: Marie's architectural work in the Bahamas. Her design background mixed with digital integration suddenly placed the Scott family at the center of TGL's creative engine. They weren't just close to the project. They were stitched straight into its hidden subplots. Traditionalists called the move sacrilege. Innovators crowned Scott a pioneer rewriting the rules. But to him, this wasn't rebellion. It was pure optimization, a pivot that protected his legacy, stabilized his family, and kept his competitive momentum on a clean upward trajectory. And when news leaked about his planned 2026 homecoming doubleheader in Australia, everything snapped into perfect focus. This wasn't a soft fade-out. It was the launchpad for a fully reinvented era. Adam Scott's career announcement didn't close a chapter. It rewired the entire book, and stamped his name onto golf's future with authority.so. If you love the untold stories, the behind-the-scenes battles, and the real drama shaping modern golf, make sure you subscribe. Golf Mode TV drops the real inside scoop every single week. What started as quiet whispers about retirement has now become a full-blown saga: reinvention, family power, boardroom influence, and tech-driven evolution. His next era won't be quieter. It's about to get sharper, stranger, bigger, and way more ambitious, and trust me, the meltdown is only just beginning.